I want to begin this week with a question. Actually, maybe two questions. Why wait? Why wait so long? Let's add a third question. In recent days, why are we being reminded? Why are we being told to wait? If I am hungry enough and I really want a certain meal and I know how good it will taste, I will wait. Psalm 40 begins that way. I waited patiently. This is another way of saying I waited a really long time. In our daily church Bible readings, we are coming across either this testimony or this exhortation, wait. And that's why I asked that third question. Why in recent days are we being reminded from God's word to wait? Wait for God to act. So, why wait for God to act? Why wait so long? And I want to share this. It's just like waiting. If you're hungry enough, and if you want a certain meal bad enough, and you know how good it will taste, you will wait. Why wait for God to act? Why wait so long? Let's read Psalm 40, verses 1 through 3. This will be our fighter verses, our fighter passage for this week. Psalm 40 begins, I waited patiently for the Lord. He inclined to me and heard my cry. He drew me up from the pit of destruction, out of the miry bog, and set my feet upon a rock, making my steps secure. He put a new song in my mouth, a song of praise to our God. Many will see and fear and put their trust in the Lord. I want us to hold on to 7 things for the daily fight this week. So take good notes. 7 things for the daily fight this week. Here it is. Here's the first one. Just reflecting on Psalm 40, those first 3 verses. 1, David is in the pits. You know what it means to be in the pits? I'm sure all of us have experienced that feeling of, I'm in the pit. I'm in the pits. It's not a good place to be. So David is in the pits. Number 2, David cries out to God. Now let's ask this, how long? Okay, number 3, David waits. And notice what he says, I waited patiently. That's another way of saying I waited a long time. David waits patiently for God to answer, for God to act. So again, let's ask this, how long? Well, you can put in your own personal experience. How long is the waiting? How long is the crying out? Number 4, we're listening to David share his experience of being in the pit, sharing his experience of waiting, and sharing his experience of crying out for a long time. Number 4, God delivers David. Number 5, God puts a new song in David's mouth. Again, this is all Psalm 40, verses 1 through 3. I'll read those first 5 again. David is in the pits. Hold on to that for the daily fight this week. David is in the pits. David cries out to God. Again, wonder how long? You can imagine. Number 3, David waits patiently for God to act, for God to answer. Again, how long? You can imagine. Number 4, do you see this escalating? God delivers David. And number 5, God puts a new song in David's mouth. So hold on to those 5 things for the daily fight this week. But I told you there's going to be 7. So let's keep going, all in Psalm 40, verses 1 through 3. And again, notice in these 3 verses, it just escalates out of the pit, beginning in the pit, coming out of the pit. God does more than just help David. God does more than just helping David. Let's expand on that. When I feel like I'm in the pit and I cry out for a long time and I wait patiently for God and He answers me, hold on to this. God is doing more than simply helping me. In other words, that's not going to be the end of the story. Number 7. We see this in Psalm 40, verse 3. Many will put their trust in the Lord. That is, many people will get saved. Hear that again. The end of the story is not that I got delivered out of the pit. The end of the story is not that David got delivered out of the pit. The end of the story is not that God helped David. The end of the story is not that now David has a new song. The end of this experience, that's a better way of putting it, the end of this experience, which we all can identify with, the end of the waiting, and why we wait so long, is not so we can merely say that God helped me, that God answered me, or that prayer works. The end of the experience, you see in Psalm 40 verse 3, is that many will see and be in awe of who God is and put their trust in Him. How amazing is that? So think about where that all begins. It begins with David in the pits. It reminds me of Joseph in the book of Genesis. Remember, he was literally in a pit at the beginning of his experience. And the end of it, there in Genesis 50, I believe, David shares that, hey, the end of my experience is not that God took me out of the pit and put me in the palace. The end of my experience is that many people will be made alive as they are today. Pretty amazing, wouldn't you agree? So, what does this say for us? Do not waste your pit. Keep crying out to God. God will answer, and God will deliver, and God will help. But helping you, helping me, helping David is not the end of the experience. It is to be a display of God's faithfulness so that many will see, be in awe of God, and put their trust in Him. How does that help you this week?